I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We're both in Skull and Bone, the secret society. It's so secret we can't talk about it. What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on. I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest. Number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
What's up, my beautiful people? It's a Tuesday night. As always, it's me and Austin, already dead. Let's fucking do it. We got some things to go through this week. We do have some updates for the show. You may see things moving a little bit different behind the scenes, so I just going to address the obvious. We fired Jules. We shit canned his ass. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I love the brother. I was just joking. We talked through with him. We've come to mutual term. We agreed that it made more sense that he's taken on too much as well too. Like he's got a lot going on. So I mean, this has been kind of a thing for coming for a while. So we got a new producer in the back, and I think Jules to be. I think it'll be good for him to free himself up. I think he's got a lot of different projects going on, and it's kind of like if anything, I feel bad we weren't letting him run. If anything, we were kind of holding him back. So it's like, yeah.
I definitely told him that we're gonna have him back on soon as a guest and make it like a sort of like already dead reunited edition, right? I thought it would be kind of fun just in terms of having more of just a special edition episode, right? And just shoot the shit and have a good time.
We need to get Adam back too.
I know. Honestly, he hit me up not too long ago, right after I dropped the not long after I dropped the Atlanta child murders episode, and he asked me as he was listening to it if I discussed the CIA, sort of connection from the video of him claiming, obviously, he had been trained at a CIA training camp and when he was 17 years old and recruited and all of this. And I was like, motherfucker, listen to the rest of it. Like, basically, that's what I told him. But yeah, no, it was good to hear from him. I told him I'd been missing him because we definitely need to have him back on.
Admittedly, too, I think Jules admit this too. This would be like if I took on a producer job. I'll help a brother out, but I suck with tech stuff. I think Jules would agree too. That's not his strong suit. He's more of a host, so he's going to be utilizing his talents in a better way. I do think he is. I do enjoy his content. I'm a big into the Anunnaki, some of the weird occult shit he's into, but he's better served doing that because I'm not. I would be a shit fucking producer as well, but we have a little bit of a techie nerd now, so I think things will be a little bit smoother. So I think that'll be good. I think it'll be a good step. We're getting a little bit more professional. So yeah.
Plus, man, Jules already knows nothing but love and respect.
100%.
He's our brother. But meanwhile, the demoralization campaign is at full steam. I would have to say, right? Not only are we sort of witnessing this rise of a very seemingly common theme of
literal fascism. Just cut
authoritarianism.
straight to it.
There you go. That works. That works.
Just
But I mean,
literal fascism. We
at
don't
this
even need a
point,
pussyfoot
dude,
around it. We're
you
talking
can-
about ownerships of private entities by the government.
But you know what else? What's happening to this country? We can't even use racial slurs against black children when they steal our children's toys, right? Isn't that what happened? Did you see the actual criminal charge of that woman?
I have not had a chance to dig into that yet, the Shiloh thing, but I do want to let it know I am pro. Just we're trying to be more professional, right? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, my bad. Instantly.
This is no longer a pro show.
Right. Oh my god.
The Jews paid us the money, and now we censor it anytime we say it. I'm sorry. Go to Patreon if you want to hear the hard ER. I promise it was there. Go listen back over on the RSS feed over there. You'll hear it.
Oh my god, dude. It is so funny actually seeing this though. But again, as much as you would like to, because I mean, what is hate speech, right?
Yeah, just words I don't like.
Yeah.
Words I hate.
Exactly. And that's where we're at. This woman was legitimately charged, right? And it seems as if
there was ever an appropriate time to use that word. I mean, granted, it was towards a child, so it loses sympathy, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't. I forget what was the initial Shiloh. It was supposed to be like a 7 or 8 year old. Like they framed it as it was like a much younger child. But then come to find out, it looks like, at least I believe it was like looking more like a young teens, middle school age. So like they're older. They're at the point where like I don't feel bad if someone's stealing. If someone like a middle schooler or a high schooler is stealing from someone, and that person gets called a racial slur as a result of it, I have zero sympathy for you being called a racial slur while you are stealing. If anything, man. I don't know. That kind of provides umbrage or provides credence to the argument that is like what they are saying you are.
Right.
Because it's like, I mean, not to go back to the stupid Chris Rock joke, but it's like, if that is what you were being called, then you were behaving that way. It's kind of like, well, are you just upset because somebody hit the nail on the head here? I don't know.
Right. But I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. They're talking about how there's a lasting impact, right? As far as, but I don't know. Apparently she did very well fundraising after the fact who knows what the ultimate consequences will really be. But I will say, just as far as freedom of speech, I think we're never heading in the proper direction, and that alone is cause for concern. And so effectively, it seems like we are consistently just sort of reeling down this very consistent, it's just this path that continues to resurface, that it seems we can never be sort of like disrupted off of that very path that is always attempting to achieve these dystopian outcomes. And that is why I'm consistently spotlighting some of these sort of most people, I would imagine, would just gloss over this headline as if it was, not really worth your time. But I do think it's just that is the cause for concern and caution. I think is just obviously the authoritarian nature of cracking down on your freedom of speech at every level, and that's always what they're attempting to achieve. So that, of course, they're going to exploit some sort of racial tension to sort of achieve that precedent and pretext. And so here we are again, discussing something that really doesn't even matter and shouldn't matter in the grand scheme of things. But essentially, we could all ultimately be affected by some of these obvious, you get the point. But it just, to me, it's just always frustrating to see the sort of the legal consequences side on just sort of always come down on the wrong side of the inalienable rights, of course, being exercised by any sort of individual sovereign citizen. So, but
I mean, it's not we were talking a little bit before. I mean, this kind of ties into the flag burning thing, and it does feel like there's a lot of crazy overreaching going on. And there is a component of, like, we saw this during COVID with the requirements, the OSHA requirements for the poke or whatever, and those ended up getting slapped down later, I believe, by the Supreme Court. So there's many examples where things like this, say for the flag burning thing, get offered up and then they get slapped down later by the courts. But in the meantime, there is real world effects that happen. And, for example, with like Biden's OSHA thing, there were probably a ton of people who got, the poke because they were just like assumed that was going to go through. I mean, also, I don't know. I mean, if let's say someone does burn a flag, they're going to deal with the consequences of it in the meantime. I guess I don't feel too bad about it. Mm-hmm. But, it is like, I don't know. I guess I don't feel like any sort of intense like upset of someone burning a flag, but it's like it is also like a bizarre behavior that I'm like to come to the defense of. I don't really care. It's like whatever. I mean, it's kind of a dumb. It feels it is kind of an generally unproductive type thing. It just seems dumb. I'm not like upset about it. I know a lot of people get like their feelings hurt.
It reminds me of? It reminds me of sports fans when one of their favorite players gets traded or goes to another team and then they burn their jersey. That's what it reminds me of.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm not upset about it. It's
breaking
like,
up. Yeah, that's like basically it, right? They're breaking up with.
You're like, what the fuck is this?
They're protesting that they're very upset.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, okay, you should be. I think most of us are pretty much feeling that way in terms of just our emotional state as far as the current political environment that we find ourselves in. There's no real representation for a reason, right? And I think that's a part of the demoralization campaign. Honestly, it really does at least kind of, I think it affects us, really just society at large in that sort of way, in that sort of fashion. And so it's just, I think it definitely, just when you're considering all of these strange, and you mentioned the pokes, right? To me, I found it strange that, like I just saw there was the health officials in Mississippi, right? They came out, and did you see that? They claimed that they're in a public health emergency that they declared, and essentially they said the state is facing the highest infant mortality rate in over 10 years. And they talked about how the top essentially causes include birth defects, premature births, low birth weight, and sudden infant death syndrome. So SIDS once again, and too many Mississippi families are losing their babies before their first birthday. And I think that is a real phenomenon that is honestly, it's affecting more people than I think the average person is even aware of for the most part. And that's why I find sudden infant death syndrome such a strange, right? Just like any time I've ever looked into it, it clearly
just means they're died. Yeah. That's all it means. For those who aren't aware of SIDS, it's just sudden infant death syndrome. That literally is just, they died and we don't know why. And so we're calling it SIDS.
Right.
Yeah.
But if you're considering, like this sort of, one, I mean, I do think there is some sort of statistical correlation there as far as like the timing surrounding, I think a sort of majority of SIDS cases seems to be around the time they receive their shots, their childhood scheduled shots. So I think that it is interesting at the very least to follow that path of research and investigation in a sort of objective way and ask really just the inevitable questions that come to mind down that path, that you start to grow far more concerned about the real current state of public health and also just the childhood schedule alone and what exactly we're doing, poisoning our children. But, still, I will also say that we are not only in the midst of PSYOP season, but it feels like we're sort of just in this constant state of precedent-setting operations everywhere around us, everywhere we turn, and they're sort of pursuing these dystopian, agenda items, and they're very layered in how they're.
We're winning the culture war, though. Did you see that we're keeping Cracker Barrel? We won. God. We won, dude. We're keeping the logo. It's not. We're getting rid of that Goy-Slop bullshit. We defeated the Jays, dog. The Goy-Slop is out. We're keeping Cracker Barrel the way it was. He said, it's white proud people can go to Cracker Barrel and enjoy the original Goy Slop.
That is so crazy.
Although I do kind of like Cracker Barrel, but it's a little overrated.
But it's crazy that you mentioned the sort of just obviously the dystopian nature of the COVID shots during the Biden administration, but it's clearly Trump himself, right? He's still to this day. He came out. I believe it was today, right, where he talked
today
about
or yesterday.
great,
there was a clip going around, about still once again another clip about how great Operation Warp Speed was. Yeah.
And he legitimately claims that it was almost a military procedure, right?
Yeah, which would make it so much better.
That's why it's so great. Yeah, which is just like, man, why don't you look up Edgewood Arsenal and shut the fuck up? Like, honestly, at a certain point, like it's just like, do a little bit further research into this sort of way that one, scientists have utilized torture techniques in the name of science, right, on behalf of the state for generations. And I think that understanding at what level those experiments were being conducted, man, it's very interesting to read about how they first kind of I forget his first name, but something White was one of Sidney Gottlieb's original scientists that he like put up in a hotel and a suite, and like had these hotel rooms rigged with audiovisual blackmail, and basically gave him outfitted the apartments however Mr. White wanted them, and then essentially, I need to pull up what his real name was, but it's very interesting when you read through the Edgewood Arsenal sort of experiments that were being conducted at this specific apartment complex that he was set up with in the 1950s. And anyway, once you sort of discover at what level, right, they were legitimately, I guess you had members of the local, you had like organized crime members of the mafia who were just like being brought up into these apartments and then dosed with drugs and then effectively just experimented on. And then later on, they realized that, well, honestly, even when the operatives are off duty and the agents who are staying in the flat and not just in the apartments where they're conducting the experiments, they would technically be off off duty, but they still would be living this degenerate lifestyle. And so there was an opportunity there as far as Sidney Gottlieb viewed this as an opportunity to continue to collect blackmail on the very operatives who were conducting the experiments themselves, which I thought was hilarious, and another way to kind of keep your assets in line and in place. And then while you're providing them with the pharmaceutical drugs necessary to conduct the experiments and to also facilitate the just sort of lifestyle of degradation and, this degenerate lifestyle, then you kind of capitalize on that opportunity and exploit it to your own benefit. And this is the kind of sociopathic usual suspects and how they conducted themselves in these clandestine operations. Like Tulane University is far more sadistically involved with MK Ultra and Project Monarch than I ever understood. And it's not only Tulane. I think it obviously it goes far beyond Tulane, and I think it clearly connects to many other institutions. But at the same time, just specifically in terms of the Tulane experiments and what was being conducted there, it's fascinating. But I don't want to get too far off base of what we're just discussing as far as this sort of dystopian authoritarian agenda playing out before our eyes, because there's definitely a few reference points that I think we have to offer.
Jacob, I don't know if he's saying he's actually having audio issues. If you can hear us, if you want to go ahead and set up that first Lutnick clip, because we do have, we have like 3 Lutnick clips, like on this idea of kind of taking advantage of the current situation and kind of just over and over again, just overplaying your hand. We've got like 3 different clips today from, and for some reason particularly all Lutnick. I forget what is his even position. We should probably look up what his cabinet position is, because I know he has a cabinet position. It is wild that some of these people are surrounding him. We were talking before this about how Zamboli, the guy who's reportedly who we got Melania from, is another person, like some minor cabinet member. He has all these weird people that surround him. There's a couple other weird characters that from those days that are just these odd, it just seems like these people he brings along with him. Kind of, I guess, a lot like Clinton and kind of his Arkansas buddies that he brought up with him type deal. It's becoming more evident, I guess, as it's becoming further along in Trump, I guess, the parallels here. But yeah, I guess here's probably, I guess, the best example, and maybe we can kind of reference the other ones. This is talking about nationalizing defense contractors. So go ahead and take it away, Jacob.
He's the Secretary of Commerce, just so.
Oh, Commerce? Okay, that makes sense. So, because of the J thing.
It also makes sense because of the comments that he's making, obviously, in regard.
The US government say, you know what, we use Palantir services. We would like a piece of Palantir. We use Boeing services. We would like a piece of Boeing. There are a lot of businesses that do business with the U.S. government that benefit by doing business with the U.S. government. Where, again, I guess the question is, where's the line?
Oh, there's a monstrous discussion about defense. I mean, Lockheed Martin makes 97% of their revenue from the U.S. government. They are basically an arm of the U.S. government. They make exquisite munitions. I mean, amazing things that can knock a missile out of the air when it's coming towards you. But what's the economics of that? I'm going to leave that to my Secretary of Defense and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. These guys are on it and they're thinking about it. But I tell you what, there's a lot of talking that needs to be had about how do we finance our munitions acquisitions. I think a lot of that is talking. And now you have the right people in the jobs and Donald Trump at the head thinking about what is the right way to do it.
Well, it's we got Donald Trump there, so it'll be okay. That seems to be funny. There's that was actually, I watched one of the other clips earlier, and that funny, despite the insane, it was the other clip was they're wanting to take a portion of patents from universities, the proceeds from that, so essentially nationalizing that, and it is this. It all comes back to like, oh, we're the greatest. It's like this reassuring gaslighting line of just the same thing of the IDF is the most moral army in the world. Just kind of this like, you kind of lead the statement and you end the statement off with it to kind of almost like a brainwash. What do they say? The most useful or the most basic form of mind control is repetition. Yeah. So it's like they just kind of mind fuck you, reframe it, and just most moral army, and that way you're starting from there, and then you end it with most moral army, and we got to remind you, this has been the best 6 months, the greatest administration, I don't know, saying it. I mean, I don't know, maybe to some extent, I guess saying it more sort of does make it more true, at least in the eyes of the people, but not really. I mean, I don't know to what degree we can paper over this problem. I
do appreciate, what I've appreciated about Trump from day one is that it forcefully removed the veil from many people's eyes, right, at the very least. And I do kind of appreciate the fact that just in terms of there's no more just blurring the lines as far as the revolving door between the private sector and these defense contractors and obviously the military and the U.S. intelligence apparatus. Like there's really no distinction whatsoever anyway, right? The revolving door is so evident, and honestly, it just consistently occurs where you see these patterns of inherent advantages due to the fact that, right, you have that revolving door in place, and so you can strategically have these assets just kind of come and go as they please, but position themselves in these very prominent roles where they clearly can affect, international finance. And I think that, or far more than that, obviously, if you're considering the defense contractors and the implication of just, foreign policy, right? But at the same time, it's like, it's at least there's no veil of couching it in this flowery language where they're attempting to deceive you deliberately, as far as now they're legitimately just telling you, yeah, no, straight up, we're going to right, we're actually going to just deliberately destroy that what was supposedly an intended distinction between the two for a reason, because obviously absolute power is no real it's clearly always going to be the goal of the state. And so why would you, just because you worship the feet of a political puppet, and that goes for the Trump administration and these MAGA truthers, that
Did
just
you see they stopped the firing? Because remember when Trump came in, there was supposed to be the firing, because I guess Biden came in and increased a bunch of the IRS agents. And I don't think they were going to fire IRS agents, but they were going to free. I think it was something like freezing the hiring. And even then I think they nixed that just recently. So that's happening too. Fell for it again. Just everything. And then, even on the Lutnick thing, the other clip was they were going to enable 600,000 Chinese students to come in. And even then, their argument was something along the lines of so that we can, because some of the smaller schools are struggling, and that way they essentially made the argument, I believe, that like the people from the states will fill out some of those other ones, literally making the argument that the Chinese will come to the nicer universities and essentially force out the Americans, the shittier ones. You're like, holy shit! Which, like, I mean, I'm not a big fan of like immigration hawk stuff, but I'm also not really a big fan of like I don't know the details of this supposed idea here, but it seems like there's probably some sort of government incentive in play for these people. So I'm also not like, while I'm not like an immigration hawk, I'm also on the flip side not a fan of when the government's talking about it anyway, contributing toward even incentivizing movement either which way, really. Just like they shouldn't be really should have little to nothing to do with that, is kind of the perspective I have. They shouldn't be trying to incentivizing it either way. It's just wild. It's just such a schizophrenic fucking policy when it comes to this. As like, they're supposed to be, we're deporting anybody that says anything bad about Israel, and they're all about this deporting stuff. But no, then we're gonna bring it up. It doesn't even make sense to me. Especially then that China hawk side of it too. Like, what, you're gonna bring in almost 1 million fucking Chinese students? Like, what? What is this? I mean, I'm not China hawk either, but it makes no fucking sense. It just is not consistent. Like, I just don't even like, I guess I'm not like upset about it that much, but what the fuck is this? It just makes no sense. I don't know.
Yeah, and I saw that report paired with just more Chinese spies effectively exposed and being exposed throughout the university, just the institutions themselves. One had a postdoctoral fellow at one of these University of Texas. I believe he's a research student, and he's charged for espionage, theft of trade secrets at the University of Texas, and he's a Chinese research student. I thought it was hilarious that they were pairing those stories with with this obvious report of the 600,000 students, which Trump himself claimed that the university system would go straight to hell, basically, right? If he expelled these 600,000, which he's not wrong, probably, because the Asians are the only ones attending the institutions anymore, which, I mean, goes to show they're the last to find out that your college degree doesn't amount to shit. But you have to opt out, honestly, at this point. I mean, clearly you can live that elitist lifestyle but I feel as if clearly the path has shifted, and there's much more of a window of opportunity as far as opting out of the institutional lifestyle, and that is why I'm just so philosophically opposed to any sort of siding with the institutions at any level. I mean, the slow march has been being conducted under our very noses for generations as well. And what did Yuri Bezmenov say? You would have to pump this. Basically, you would have to reinforce legitimate moral principles and positive propaganda into the minds of the youth, right? For like and that was in '84. He says for like 15 years straight, and you still would barely have any real impact whatsoever on the ultimate dystopian outcome of cultural Marxism, which, yeah, I mean, what do we see every 4 years? The right becomes more left, and the left becomes more just like radically insane. And as far as their reactionary, and really, I mean, they both seem to react so just over emotional as far as the political environment and how they can exploit the general public, and they take the bait every time. And what we're witnessing. And by the way, Brad told me something on whatever this is last night. He was mentioning how there were all of these different sort of cases that had been surfacing just recently, right in the domestic U.S. about as far as these false flag mass shooting events, right? And that they're being reported as if they're live mass shooting event, and then you come to find out within a couple hours that it was actually a false flag hoax, even or just but what was interesting to me is that you consider the idea of Liberation Day in DC, baby, federalizing the police force, and what by the way, the videos coming out of DC are very strange. What's the National Guard doing there? They're like picking up trash and shit. And which, hey man, whatever. You remember the
cool,
Seinfeld?
I
I don't know
guess.
if you watched Seinfeld, but back in the day, that there's a Seinfeld episode where he makes a joke about basically, yeah, I always see cops just standing around not doing shit. They might as well pick up a broom, sweep, while you have some downtime, man. And that's not a terrible idea, as much as it's a ridiculous joke in passing, right? I'm just considering the idea that you need to, at the very least, be like a fireman. Just go sit your ass, and down until you get a call for something legitimate, and stop running around town trying to cause chaos clearly, I am in no way like in favor of the federal. Just obviously, I'm not in favor of a just the
police force
federalizing of the police.
Yeah,
but
I mean, this is federalization of the police force. It's happening in front of our very eyes. Which, while this sounds silly and all the retarded, oh no, he's literally Hitler, but it's like, what was it? The burning of was the Reichstag? And then after that, they started federalizing their police forces, like right after that. I mean, we haven't had that moment yet, but
brown shirts, man.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, seems like they don't even need those moments anymore. We've had so many landmark moments in the past year or so that they didn't even bother doing the perfunctory, what typically would be perceived as being the customary and now we'll do a false flag, and then okay now we get our thing. Now they're like, we get our thing, and you're like, wait, what? It's like when all of a sudden you've been married long enough and you realize, wait, we're going out to dinner and I'm not getting my dick sucked anymore. What is going on?
Yeah.
You just realize that moment. Where did this go? What's going on here? That's what it. Not saying obviously a false flag's getting your dick sucked, but obviously not the greatest one for one here. But you get the idea. It was they didn't even try to sell you on it. There was no. They're just they've gotten you so Pavlovianly strung along that you don't even need that. You start watering and they don't even have to bother with the food. So
look at this. This I thought was funny because it was Pam Bondi, right? And this is coming off of the Liberation Day in DC, obviously, and the now the National Guard presence, and you're seeing these ridiculous reports come from Pam Bondi's, right? Just they're acting as if there's some sort of legitimate response happening, and they're cracking down on crime in a real way. And so you're getting what you voted for, essentially, right? And at a certain extent, or to a certain extent. I just thought it was funny because, I forgot to actually scroll down and show you what it actually said in terms of the full picture. But look at this. It's hilarious how many. Make DC safe again. 1,094 arrests, 115 illegal guns seized, And so this is what you voted for, guys. You want gun grabbing, right? Isn't that what you wanted? The Republicans voted in Trump to grab guns, right? Is that doesn't that remind you
they
of
made
the,
they made a city that I've maybe I almost said never been to my life. Maybe I've been to DC. I don't know. I don't think I've ever been to DC. Nor do I ever really care to go to DC.
Right.
I couldn't give two flying fucks if everyone fucking. I mean, I guess I don't want this to happen, but if everyone just like collapsed dead in DC tomorrow, I'd be like, oh no, that's awful. But I'd move on with my life. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I want to dig into it. Like, what the fuck happened here? But like, means nothing to me.
Right.
So like,
I just think like you see, I saw videos of like the National Guard troops just policing the city, walking around telling people to essentially like stop loitering and things of that nature. And then I saw like a news report. Some mainstream media publication was doing a on the ground beat report of the National Guard troops in DC, and they're in this ultimately just this overwhelming black community, right? And they're just interviewing all these African Americans, and they're all just yeah, you know. It's just so funny how they react to the media and try and act as if they're okay with the presence, but it's obvious that they're just kind of being kind of taken advantage of in the moment, right? Because they're not at any real level or in any real way are they affiliated with the actual policy being implemented here on the ground, or do they even have a sort of frame of reference for what's taking place in their community? And it just goes to show it's that conservative mindset of like, well, if you're not doing anything wrong, then what do you have to worry about? And then obviously allowing that to just, I think it always reveals itself in the worst way, right? As far as that is concerned. And so once again, I just find it very interesting that, yeah, now they're on to Chicago and New York City, right? And this is all coming in this is all coming right around the same time, right? Because keep in mind the midterm 2026 midterms, right? That I think it's important for people to be aware of. And yeah, is this the report of him actually claiming?
Sorry, I was laughing at this guy. Now they're going to pick up trash in Chicago. He said war is hell.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean,
whatever. They're taking our tax money. May as well.
Dude,
although I think with Guard, these guys may be weekend warriors. So actually, I think they might be getting activated. So it actually might be stealing more tax dollars if I
that would suck.
So I actually do think like we're actually losing a lot of tax money from all of this shit. So it's not as simple as like, well, we're paying for them anyways. Like, no, because now you're paying more for them. You're putting them, I think, on active orders. I might be wrong. That might not be how a Guard works, but I think that could be. So we very well may be paying way more for all of this shit. So
yeah, no, I wouldn't at all be surprised. That's how else do you milk the taxpayer? But yeah, I mean, we're cash cows. We're tax slaves. I mean, it's the name of the game. So it's time, to come to terms with that as well. But 1,700 National Guard troops have been set to deploy across 19 states to combat.
Real quick, have you been paying attention to how this motherfucker looks in some of these videos in the past? Like, I've been seeing
you saw that about his hand and everything.
His hand, and then just even look at his face. He just does not look
very healthy.
Well.
Yeah,
something's going on.
But I mean, he's old, right? How old is he?
He's old as shit. He's I think late 70s, right? I believe he's older than when Biden took over. So he just kind of wore it better than Biden did. So
right.
But yeah, he's looking really rough for wear. I think I think I don't know. I'm feeling pretty schizo the way I've seen him the past couple days at different clips of him the past few days at different in the White House or here and there. He's looking rough. I think there might be something to the old JD Vance switcheroo.
Hey man.
Which if you're trying to swap that, this is the play, man. I'm telling you, man. They're probably killing this motherfucker. They're probably like poisoning his ass or something because it's like, and if that would be the best case scenario for them, like because that's kind of like it literally is like the scene from like the Raiders of the Lost Ark that they made into the meme where it's like where he's swapping the little things, like because it's like. You have this destroyed product of Trump that's completely disgraced at this point, just complete. I mean, there's still the holders on, and it's kind of pathetic. But right. I mean, but then there's that small little bit of even the people who have said, "Oh, fuck this guy." Vance has kind of weirdly positioned himself in a way where he's just kind of held on and not done anything enough to where he hasn't really clouded his name with all of the positions that Trump has been taking as much. I mean, obviously we know better, but like so far as from the public perception, I do think this would actually be kind of the greatest move for them because they can kind of shed off some of those issues from the Trump administration. Like if he died like tomorrow, like if we got the news tomorrow he died and they swapped out Vance, that would be such a genius way for them to shuffle off the Epstein files and everything else. Yeah. Because it is kind of like, well, I mean, that was kind of Trump's thing. So like it kind of is like, I mean, obviously you still want justice, but it's not like Vance was the one on the, you know, so it's a different thing. It's a different dynamic at that point. You know what I mean? So it's you get to kind of hit the reset button and go, forget about all that shit. Nah.
Yeah. No, it would be.
Except for the bad stuff. We're keeping that bad stuff, but that wasn't me.
Why wouldn't they want to sort of repeat the Biden Kamala switch, right? I mean, like it's effectively what happened. I mean, why wouldn't they sort of, if he legitimately did lose that much public appeal and his his approval rating is that low, then hey, I mean, you're obviously going to have the ideologically imprisoned who just sort of worship the character, right, and that's larger than life and kind of confirms their childish naivete as far as this black and white power paradigm they believe they reside in, which is just ridiculous. Black hats, white hats, like, you know, you have to grow up at a certain point and understand how power is abused. But
black hat, white hat, you're wearing a red hat, you dumb bitch.
You dumb.
That was stupid. That was like a dumb Mitch Hedberg joke.
That is good. The only point I wanted to make before we play this video is that obviously across 19 states that they're being deployed potentially here, and what the motive for this is being couched in, or at least presented to us as, is that it's all in an effort to obviously crack down and combat crime, which the claim has always been that leading up to midterm elections, things of that nature, if they do truly matter, I think at a certain extent they do, you know, or there wouldn't be so much propaganda attached. It's just interesting because it does seem as if they attempt to lie by manipulating and sort of mischaracterizing statistical data. They'll just straight up forge crime stats in local precincts and things of that nature, where you'll have like police chiefs just legitimately be forced to resign, things of that nature, whenever it starts to come around to these moments in time where there's a concerted effort to kind of expose some of that corruption, just politically speaking, as far as like a political tool that you would hope to leverage for your own benefit in the moment. You know, it only makes sense. And so I just find it very interesting, clearly, that they would be, one, combating crime in these, specifically these Democrat cities like New York and California and Chicago, right? They're saying Los Angeles is on the list as well. So that'll be interesting after everything that's already occurred with the No Kings protests that happened, which, by the way, I will say, that was something I thought Sam was so brilliant on, as far as when he was on Rogan the most recently, right? He had like, he had really kind of pitched this idea that he was just workshopping, where he was predicting, not only, because you remember that viral video after his first appearance prior to this most recent one, where he was discussing, essentially he had predicted the immigration riots, right? And then, so on this episode, he sort of predicted that he actually believed, you know, it is possible that they would potentially overturn the legal right to gay marriage, just for the demoralization. Just for the demoralization aspect of the reaction, right? Because there would be such a you know, well-organized democratic reaction. As far as just the leftist reaction, it would be up in arms, man.
Yeah, it'd be like the abortion thing, kind of.
Exactly. And I've already seen people who and people that I know, love, and you know, only hope the best for, were showing up to the No Kings protests. You know, like I legitimately knew them personally, and as if this was the sort of hill to die on. You know, this is the last hill to die on. You have to protest this current administration, and obviously, I think that's just being ideologically controlled by the political two-party delusion. But still, this would effectively, I think, cause even more of a reaction because clearly, I already have seen, you know, the talking points just and the exact same posts of the propaganda, the leftist sort of progressive propaganda surrounding the gay marriage issue, right? And it's all couched in this hateful language, which is so funny. Just how much it clearly. I don't give a shit, honestly, about any of it except for the legal precedent. You know, like that's what I don't appreciate. I think the state should never be involved in any of this. And so obviously my point
wouldn't
is
be an issue then at that point. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So what are we doing?
Yeah,
We're
like
wasting our time.
Really, marriage is to be something between your religious institutions or something done personally. And then if you do want some sort of legal contract written up to ensure certain things happen in certain situations, you know, like if you're incapacitated or whatever, or that's very clear that like, hey, all my stuff should go to my wife if I die or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, the government has no real need to be involved in any of that. No. But yeah, I mean, leave it to them to do so.
Right. So the National Guard troop presence now is obviously what they're claiming the purpose is to combat crime, but also aid in deportations, right? And so again, it fits it sort of fits the bill in terms of what the Trump supporting sort of crowd would hope would take place, I believe, like because clearly it's not about in their minds, they're not calculating the sort of dystopian measures and pretexts that are playing out. They're more just concerned with Trump doing what he claimed he would do as far as the crackdown on immigration, and then two, also consider the idea of how many people have been screaming from the rooftops that crime in Chicago and in New York as well, right, has just been rampant and essentially escalating for years at this point. But again, the crime data, the statistics that they point to all shows like that. If anything, it's a little bit less than it has been in the recent past. So, you know, it's difficult to discern for yourself because I do believe that so much of this data and the statistical data they utilize is just manipulation. You know, it's deliberate as far as how you would exploit it as a tool for that very purpose. And I saw someone say in the chat not to ever I believe forget remember all the deaths attributed to COVID. Comment Mama, what's up? I appreciate you, Comment Mama. And I will say that I saw the European Health Journal report that the COVID vax, right? Basically COVID-19 and the vaccine as well apparently leaves lasting issues in women's bodies, right? And that is very interesting as far as if you remember where all the blood clots were accumulating in these areas at that time, and I believe with women, it was specifically right in the region where one. It's also very interesting because I believe the blood clots would accumulate. It was causing miscarriages, which was a major problem, right? So pregnant women were essentially, you know, it was being reported.
It was causing all sorts of reproductive issues. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Where you were having individuals legitimately, essentially, what's it called when they're chemically castrated, right, and effectively lose the ability to have children, and so that was also sterilized. Yeah, thank you. And but anyway, we should play this clip though real quick because it is important just to see the announcement being made.
And then after that, I say we go to intermission, and then we need to talk about that judge in the Devil's Den and take calls.
Sweet.
So, yeah, let's do it. Let's play this video.
I really am honored that the National Guard has done such an incredible job working with the police, and we haven't had to bring in the regular military, which we're willing to do. We have to. And after we do this, we'll go to another location and we'll make it safe also. We're going to make our country very safe. We're going to make our cities very, very safe. Chicago's a mess. You have an incompetent mayor, grossly incompetent. And we'll straighten that one out probably next. That'll be our next one after this. And it won't even be tough. And the people in Chicago, Mr. Vice President, are screaming for us to come. They're wearing red hats, just like this one. They're wearing red hats. African-American ladies, beautiful ladies, are saying,
what the
please,
fuck?
President Trump, come to Chicago.
They come up and they feel my legs.
I did great with the black vote, as you know, and they want something to happen. So I think Chicago will be our next, and then we'll help with New York, and we're going to help with. And I think a lot of these people that you see on television, they are, including the people in this audience, they'll say bad things about me, and then they'll say, "Thank God he's here," because half of them got mugged, and they don't want to get mugged again. But they work for they work for stupid people that are radical left, and they're made to do things and say things that they don't want to be saying. But the people right here are all happy because you're not going to be mugged in Washington, D.C. anymore.
So
yeah, totally.
The African American comment about African American women, I just instantly thought of the Peter Nygaard video, right? Where all those African American women were the most uncomfortable you could ever imagine, except for, I believe, the one that was like, "You mean like Bigfoot?" Like, no, lady, no, they want your eggs is what they're actually asking for. But anyway. Yeah, I'm down.
Right, let's go to intermission, buddy. I gotta go take a leak. We'll come back in a few minutes. Refreshed, ready to talk about Devil's Den. This crazy ass. We kind of proved out the fascist component earlier. Now we're gonna prove out the pedophocracy in a very, very overt way, I think. And let's go ahead and play that beautiful bean footage. I'll see you guys in a few minutes.
To go to war with Iraq. He said, I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments.
For those who are unaware, this guy who got caught pretty red-handed trying to diddle some kiddo, and then they sent him back off to Israel, despite the fact that what he had done. And this guy was no slouch. This guy was like the head of like the Cyberdome program and a whole bunch of other shit.
According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
Out. It's a very subjective question, I think. So
I think that
how crowds react, essentially.
The digital gulags are already constructed. I think that the KYC aspect of the know your customer verification, no longer having anonymity online, that is all, it is going to be implemented. There's no way around it in my mind. They already have the digital ID clearly on course in terms of this agenda. And so I just think that that is the issue that I'm attempting to point out, right? That I'm concerned about the sort of consequential nature of the technocracy forming around us and us not being able to opt out. And
that's a good point. Kind of, I guess what I was driving at, I think the social component of this, the people themselves have sort of, I guess, elevated their thinking in a way. But I think the point you're kind of driving at here is they've also set the framework of the building technocratic, whatever. They're building it around us, and so essentially they're caging us within it. And we're back. What's up, guys? What'd it do? Man, your lighting's weird all of a sudden. You have like a weird sepia tone or something to you. It's weird.
No, I think
Am I tripping? Like, what's going on?
I think it's because I just sat back down and it takes a second.
I kind of like it. It's like you're like I'm talking to you from the 90s or something.
That's hilarious.
Well, all right, Austin, tell me about this fucking Devil's Den, and let's get some callers in here, and you can regale us and the callers about the Devil's Den. What is this Devil's Den? Is this tied into the Delphi stuff, or what is this?
I just think that one, it's a strange story just in general. I think it's a great window into why, one, just the measures in place as far as the school system and the institutions and how they sort of allow for these individuals to, what's up, Shy?
What's up?
They allow for these individuals to sort of escape accountability. Right, and they don't share any real information, especially. Chill out. Sorry, my dog's freaking out. They just don't share any critical information as far as some of the individuals hired, that clearly seem to act inappropriately around children, and then obviously they're not held responsible for it, even when there are public sort of allegations made and just you have individual parents who are attempting to make complaints to the school district, things of that nature, and that not following an individual to another school district when you can just sort of escape accountability by crossing state lines. I think that it goes to show that we live, as you mentioned, in a pedophocracy, I guess is how you would pronounce it, right?
Crazy.
And we're surrounded by this I thought it was funny because on whatever this is, Sam brought up the idea that it's being conflated much like the satanic panic, right? As far as this pedophile panic happening right now. What the hell does this not feel like we've been here before?
Like no one has sex with kids. That's just
yeah. Right. Hey, Michael Tracy says so, and we're all supposed to take him at his word. It's like, no, you don't look like a pedophile at all, dude. But again,
all right, Austin, real quick, back up. What the fuck were we talking about with the Devil's Den? Because I think I forgot what it was, and I think I didn't get that answer there, so I don't think the audience did either.
I was just providing another example of how we're surrounded by pedophiles, and this is clearly another example of that. And I also just wanted to mention the fact that Alan Dershowitz pops up once more as far as I didn't realize that he was attached to that McMartin preschool introduction that was written on the 97 book on the McMartin preschool. He's legitimately, Alan Dershowitz is the individual who wrote the new introduction for that book. And so just, again, the usual suspects, right?
Did you know his son was a renowned magician and movie producer and movie producer director?
Yeah,
something
I
odd
found that
about
out
that.
when
I
he
don't know.
died, right? But I thought the way that he addressed his death was so strange.
It was like Alan Dershowitz has died.
Yeah, it was
Use ChatGPT to write it.
Yeah.
It was so stupid. Honestly, it seemed insane. Also, like, and had no like real concern whatsoever as far as it seemed as if it was a little bit
just documenting an event.
Yeah, and the way he's like presenting it as if he like used the language of introducing himself, like Alan Dershowitz, and then
son of
dude, it was strange, right? And at the very least, I'm trying to find it out, but I can't find it.
Yeah, he's using a death of his son. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but I had a pretty accomplished son. Like, he came from me.
It's so weird.
My nuts.
But yeah, as far as this Devil's Den murder, double homicide, it's very interesting, honestly, and it happened in like late July, I believe it was July 26th, whenever it happened, and basically these two parents are, and this is a state park in Northwest Arkansas, and this is like a very beautiful hiking trail, and many people obviously, and you know what, it does kind of remind me of Delphi just because of the hiking trail. I guess I didn't even really put the two together, but the Monon High Bridge Trail is a little bit different, obviously, but still the connection between the, just as far as the occult context in terms of Devil's Den, right, just being the name as well, I think is interesting and worth mentioning. And I never really considered that growing up there. It was just something that, Devil's Den State Park, whatever. And you just like grew up knowing that was the name. And I never even considered it until this event took place, honestly. But yeah, so you had Andrew James McGann as the individual perpetrator who was arrested for these stabbings, right? And so the names of the parents are Clinton Brink and Kristen, I believe Kristen Brink. And basically they're hiking with their two young daughters, and McGann essentially he sort of jumps them right out of the woods. This is how the story goes. I'm not entirely certain this was the case, because I'm under the impression that potentially he had a prior relationship with the children and was hoping to find a way to either get I also considered the fact that potentially the children had an issue or had basically exposed this strange sort of, I'm getting ahead of myself, but this strange sort of, interaction that they had with this teacher. And therefore it could have led to something like this taking place, right? Where essentially the kids told their parents, and then the parents were essentially, maybe going to follow up on this, whatever the case may be. Not sure whatsoever. I'm just sort of workshopping these ideas theoretically is all. I'm considering a motive and how this potentially took place. But there's video of him essentially being arrested, and it's very strange.
Real quick, I see. One second, I want to address something in the chat. I've seen Ass Cream. I've seen you bringing up the super chat multiple times, saying you're not seeing a super chat button. I don't know if you're in mine. I'm assuming you're probably in mine. Over at my chat, I've been demonetized for a hot minute. You can do Rumble rants, but Austin, I believe, is monetized. So if you're on his YouTube channel, you can drop a super chat that way. So, but
go Ass Cream.
Yeah. So yeah.
But
sorry for the inconvenience. I've been a naughty boy.
How dare you, man?
Yeah,
I'm not. I definitely think that this story is mainly. I'm not entirely certain of there being some sort of network involved. It seems like it's just some sort of sole perpetrator who's obviously a pervert, and clearly he has some strange sexual proclivities where he is attracted to young girls, and that seems to be his sort of MO, right? Is that it's very weird because he's later called essentially the tickle monster, which is the worst name you could give a murderer. But yeah, I thought it was very interesting, and at the very least, this is a good sort of intro video, and you'll see also the circumstances of his arrest, which are hilarious and just off the wall, but but still. And then I'll give just a little bit of detail as far as how he got the name, the Tickle Monster, right? And the allegations that some of the parents had made prior to this taking place. And then one final point is just the fact that it seems like he's also being as far as this specific individual, McGann is the perpetrator, is also being looked at as far as investigators. It seems as if there are additional states now involved in this investigation, and he is a prime suspect in some additional sort of not only murders, but criminal action as wherever he was growing up as well. So it's definitely strange, but he fits a profile. And you never know. Also, I'm considering the idea of clearly you have examples of, like, I mean, if you remember Untermeyer Park, right? What did they have there where they were committing the animal sacrifices and they found the mass graves? It was the Devil's Cave, right? And the Devil's Cave was, what's up, Ass Cream, coming through, my brother. I appreciate you, man. I hope you make it to the private chat. But either way, I can't thank you enough. But yeah, let's just watch this briefly, and then I have a couple final points that just kind of drives home exactly the most strange and extraordinary aspects of this case specifically.
Dramatic moment when police arrest Andrew McGann in an Arkansas barbershop, charging him with the cold-blooded murder of two parents killed in a state park with their daughters nearby. The stylist who was cutting the 28-year-old's hair says she knew something was off.
He didn't want anything cut from the top of his head. He wanted to hide his face.
Authorities releasing heartbreaking new details about how Kristen and Clinton Brink fought to protect their daughters, only 7 and 9 years old, from the horrors that were unfolding.
They absolutely protected those girls to their fullest extent, to the point that it cost them their lives. We're in awe of this mom and dad.
According to police, the girl's father was attacked first, and then his wife rushed to get their children out of harm's way.
We believe that the mother took them to safety and then returned to help her husband.
Police say the assault appeared to be completely random, and they're trying to understand why McGann, who had recently moved to Arkansas to become a 5th grade teacher, targeted the couple. The Brinks fought back, police say, as their killer stabbed them, and their fight for survival appears to have helped police crack the case. The suspect was injured, leaving blood and DNA at the scene.
That's the dude that they're going to hire as the 5th grade teacher, man. That's in Springdale School District. That alone, come on now.
Brave little girls doing their part.
What'd you say, Chai?
Say he looks like a Michael Myers mask. Michael Myers mask.
It doesn't look like he should be gainfully employed around children. I'll tell you that right now.
2, helping police by providing a description of the suspect.
To be able to make this arrest, it all started with those 2 little girls. It's incredible.
And then, of course, he does his Good Morning America shtick.
Wait, so the little girls survive? Is that what? Or is that
the
what
little girls survive? This is such a strange story. I'm telling you, and again, this is why I feel like something had to have happened with the parents, because he obviously was. I don't think it was just, not at all, especially considering his background. Do I think that he would have just targeted the parents for, the sheer purpose of committing murder? No, obviously there was a motive here, and so
which I guess this kind of would dovetail into our next story, because it's also the idea of like there being more to it. Like, I feel like there's something more going on here than just. Yeah, that's weird. I mean, something about that circumstance is odd to me.
They still don't have an official motive, which is ridiculous to me, and it makes no sense. And he himself has already confessed to doing all of this, but he has not confess to any real reason as to why. And that to me is strange. And he obviously, this is very interesting because James McGann, this is crazy. He would tickle girls and told one, "I wish you could be my girlfriend." This is according to a parent at his former school. And so he's a teacher.
So to be clear, this is the kid. Is the tickle monster guy.
Yes.
So he's the one who murdered these two, and he has a history of diddling kids. Essentially, is what this is. So okay.
So he's 28 years old, and it turns out that this Andrew James McGann is now he's obviously this is admitted by Clinton as far as I forget what the name of the parent was. Hold on, let me find it. Zachariah Polyak, whose son attended Donald Elementary School in Flower Mound, and she accused Andrew James McGann, who's this 28-year-old perpetrator, of apparently saying that he would put the little girl on his lap and said things like, "I wish I could date you. I wish you could be my girlfriend." Just really nasty, like grooming behavior. That is what the parent said about them. And so this another dad says, "This monster was around our children." And then he added that his son was occasionally in his class on Fridays. And so it says Mr. McGann was giving a lot of special treatment to girls in particular. He was giving them candy, bringing them Sonic drinks, playing tag with them, tickling them, just really suspect behavior. The North Texas School District. So then you have McGann, who's placed on administrative leave following these concerns related to his classroom management and professional judgment and student favoritism is what it was referred to as. And all of that was while he was employed during the year 2022 to 2023.
It's just like
during
a bunch
that
of fucking bitch pussies in these fucking systems, man. The fact
there
that
has to be, right?
The fact that you even said that people noticed these things and he was still getting away, like that means that no one.
Two additional jobs around children after this. That's crazy to me. And so it says this internal investigation that was conducted in this North Texas school district found no evidence of inappropriate behavior with students after all of these allegations came forward. Children themselves were claiming this was happening. And so then he's forced to resign in May of 2023. And so this is when you had parents, they're fuming, apparently making public statements. They said it should have been an immediate firing with reports to Child Protective Services, is what the parents were saying, which obviously
just had we need to bring back fucking mobs and shit.
I'm telling you, what is it? Vigilante justice. That's what Sam said last night, man, on whatever this is. I can't remember what the context was, but it was like, yeah, if we brought back vigilante justice, then so many problems.
Hang them from a wedgie in town square and shit.
Mm-hmm.
Just fucking, pray to motherfucker like that, and then just have people be like, people need to know who's in their communities and shit, and really need to step up instead of waiting, telling and all this stuff. People really need to step up and not just, see something, say something, to see something and do something. That's where the whole thing gets twisted.
For sure. You just have to, start acting like Nick Bryant and just start following these pedophiles around and screaming at the rooftops like, hey, he clearly has a background where he's inappropriate with children. There's no way in hell. And you should start alerting parents who have their children attending the school in the district. And I mean, that has to be the path forward. How else do you come to some sort of solution here? But then you have another individual, Sierra Markham, whose son was in McGann's 4th grade class at the Texas school. Now, she claims that apparently during these previous encounters with him, that he was very strange and standoffish. But I mean, you could say that in hindsight, obviously. But she said he's pretty cold. You could ask him a question, he would give you a one-word response, and overall just obviously seemed disinterested in his students, except for certain students he would show this preferential treatment, and there were always these little girls. And yeah, anyway, it seems as if many of these these parents were making statements and were up in arms and had no understanding why there was no like actual record of this taking place, at the very least. For that reason, going forward, for him to be obviously kept out of being of consideration, clearly is the point there. But the other point was basically McGann was showing all of this favoritism, as I said, to certain girls in the class, and this was coming out and being exposed. And then members of the school district were on the record saying that this happened, and then the internal investigation revealed nothing. And so that was the main point I just wanted to address, at the very least, as far as his past, you know. And then there was one other thing I wanted to show, which I found this just important to address, and I sort of alluded to it, you know, personally, but earlier on. But yeah, this is. And again, it's pretty dramatic, as mainstream media always is with their presentations. But
the suspect in the killings of a couple on a remote Arkansas hiking trail is now formally charged with 2 counts of capital murder. Podcast host of Hidden Killers, Tony Bruschi, joins me now for the latest in this case. Tony, what have you been following in this case?
There's a lot that we've been following in this case. Now that the man has been arrested, Andrew McGann, he is now been charged. And we are hearing that he has allegedly made an admission to the crime itself to authorities. He has not yet pled out in court, coming up on the 25th. And they are possibly expecting a not guilty plea, despite that admission that took place earlier this week. There was a DNA match that also helped authorities match it up to Andrew McGann. He was arrested in a barber shop, in a salon, just the other day when he was getting his hair cut. Police came in, made the arrest. We actually talked last night to the stylist who was that very salon cutting his hair, and the shock of what took place, realizing that the person whose hair she was cutting was in fact the man accused of murdering Clinton and Kristen Brink on that hiking trail in Devil's Den.
And what more can you tell us about the suspect, Andrew McGann, and what are we learning about how he ended up teaching in Arkansas?
Well, that's the interesting thing, and that's the journey that we've been going on. And here's the disturbing reality of how Andrew McGann ended up teaching in Arkansas, despite multiple allegations of predatory and inappropriate behavior towards students at districts in Texas. And now we're hearing allegations coming out of Oklahoma from some parents, unverified, but they are allegations. McGann was never formally.
It doesn't look at all like, as far as the composite sketch of the alleged perpetrator. I know they're bad usually, but
yeah, I mean, scroll back a little bit. I mean, I will say it kind of had a little.
It's not too far off.
The eyes are big.
It's not great. Yeah, it ain't good.
It's not the best, right?
I mean, I guess like if they're like, I'd be like, yeah, I guess I can see it.
Kinda... Kids, 2 children are describing it,
right?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
they are.
Yeah, you're totally right. But you know what else is interesting is that they were apparently jumped in the woods on the hiking trail. But then, as they mentioned earlier, the mom apparently takes the children back toward the car, not all the way back to the car. So that was another reason why I wondered how I mean, obviously you would imagine they probably jumped in the car and locked the doors, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't that what you would think?
But
still, it's like it's very strange how that would happen, and then she would return to the scene and be.
Well, maybe she got the kids to a point she thought they would be safe, and she went back for her husband.
That's how I came away from it, thinking that was effectively what took place. But still, between the two of them, man, like I get it. I'm definitely thinking you could definitely be caught by surprise on this hiking trail and stabbed to death, and at least be in a critical state and unable to fight back once the original attack happens. So it could very easily happen, I would imagine, more than you would want to think. But still, it's very strange. This is almost over, but he makes one final point that I found worthwhile, as far as just, again, the sharing of this information between school districts. Like, how can this happen? Oklahoma, Texas, and then to Arkansas, and he's legitimately inappropriate with children every step of the way, and then he
No one's
commits
calling for a
murder.
reference.
No one's calling for reference, and then he legitimately murders two parents whose children were about to go to this very same school district that he would then be teaching at in Springdale. Nah, there's no way that he hadn't. I'm not entirely certain. Did they already have some? Were they prepping for the new school year or something? Did they
Yeah.
have interactions already? I don't know.
There's
You
gotta
know,
be
it's
something more here.
Gotta
This
be
makes no
something
sense,
more.
yeah.
Allegations. McGahn was never formally charged or even reported to authorities. Instead, he was quietly allowed to resign each time, leaving behind internal complaints locked away in confidential personnel files. Why? Well, because districts quite often fear lawsuits, bad PR, and lengthy investigations, and there are laws at times preventing this information from traveling from district to district. It often leads them to handle these issues privately and internally rather than involving law enforcement or child protective services. On top of that, there's no national database or requirement for schools to share disciplinary records when a teacher moves from state to state.
That's
Personal privacy
crazy.
laws and non-disclosure agreements further shield these allegations from view. It's a glaring gap in the mandatory reporting and internal district communication that allowed McGahn to bounce freely from one unsuspecting community to another until he allegedly committed these horrific murders at Devil's Den State Park in North.
Yeah, in Northwest Arkansas, son, and that's where I grew up. As far as just proximity, but this is another crazy point, and then we'll move on and put this to bed. But essentially, this same individual, James McGahn, he's apparently being investigated in multiple unsolved murders across the U.S. And now we all know that
Let's go,
whenever
baby, PTK.
Yes, it could very well be, but we also do know that it becomes very convenient to sort of tie off loose ends whenever there is a suspect that follows a certain path, and then you could sort of see it as an opportunity for you to just, let's say, settle and close off some cold cases that which happens so often, right? Where if you would think of Henry Lee Lucas, right? He's like, yeah, I killed them all. Sure. Oh yeah, I never heard of them, but I killed them too. You know what I mean? It's like, hey man. But I definitely just think there's something happening with this specific scenario, and another reason why it drew my attention, because I felt as if, all right, the Devil's Den State Park, that seems strange. There seems like there could be an occult connection. At the very least, it should be considered as a priority just location for some sort of activity of that nature. But I definitely think that the fact that this man is now accused of allegedly being a part of an additional set of murders that were in also another state park, I found that very strange. And it turns out that obviously he confesses to these killings, which are still being considered as a completely random event, although he has this past, right, and background with abusing children. But so here's what happened. There's DNA evidence that was linked to McGahn and as far as in context with this couple's death. And
Did they
that
say what kind of DNA, blood, or?
No, I didn't get any details as to what DNA evidence, because it's an active and ongoing investigation, and there are multiple state agencies involved apparently. And so it's like McGahn was he apparently held, obviously not. He was in Oklahoma and also Texas, but he had held several different school teacher positions apparently over several years. And this was alleged to have been, as far as his possible involvement, he was alleged to have been involved in these murders of people in Vermont and Wisconsin as well. And so I looked into this, and it turns out that South County Sheriff's Office in Wisconsin, they reported that they essentially received tips regarding this possible connection between the incident in Devil's Den Park and a separate incident that happened in October of 2020. And this happened in Devil's Lake State Park, where John Craig Schmutzer was stabbed while hiking on the Grottos Trail. Now, that instantly it's like there's no way, unless this guy is a legitimate serial killer and he's like following a pattern for that reason and hoping he's like a new age Dexter. You know, like I don't know exactly what his criminal code would have been, or if he was just kind of like having that fracture in his psychology, you know, or psychological sort of constructed neural pathways are hemorrhaging, right? I mean, it does happen, as far as there are cases of people legitimately just having the sort of animalistic urge, right, to just pursue some sort of violent act, right? Which, I mean, we've all felt this sort of animalistic urge at times to do something that you know is crossing a line. I mean, we've all been there, I would think, right? Now, I'm not saying at a level like this.
We've all beaten our wife before. Come on.
You see what I mean? I think that, yeah. It's like we've all seen red and legitimately
and beat our wife, yeah.
In that moment. Oh my god! But
it's a joke, guys. It's a joke. But she'll never tell you otherwise.
Oh my god. Oh Jesus! But yeah, this it's at the very least, I think I'm hoping we get a little bit more detailed evidence that will provide us with some sort of motive behind the reasons for these murders that took place, other than this clear and obvious connection, Devil's Lake State Park and Devil's Den State Park. I think that alone is okay. I mean, he could just have an obsession with the devil. He's just a strange pervert who's attracted to young girls, or yeah, you never know. It could also fit a very obvious pattern of again, how can you. It's the psychopath machine in a way, right? But it's also when you show these interesting patterns, as far as clearly, I think that if you didn't see the individual himself, he kind of gives off the vibe of the 764 type, right? Which is why I'm considering the idea that, okay, he's finding ways to kind of insulate himself around these children.
I think it's more just a stupid haircut, but
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, the zoomer feel to it. All right, before we get too many people on here, Shy, do you have any questions for us? Because otherwise we'll probably let you go and bring Rage Child on us. I know we just kind of brought you on and talked, but do you have anything that you wanted to really talk about? I mean, we've kind of, I think, really talked much about most there is about Devil's Den, but I mean, if you have more on that subject, if you have something else you want to talk about,
I want to
buddy.
bring up I watched that the one about the Colorado shooter, the theater shooter. That's a good that's a good
James Holmes, the one, that's what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And
brother.
you know, when I was watching it, one off the cover, the picture of him split, where it shows his crazy self and his normal self. His crazy self is like one eye is like super bugged, and with his red hair, with his orange hair, and like that really, like, I picked up right away to remind me of Clockwork Orange, like the cover with the eye being surrounded with makeup, so it's being like pushed out there, right? And so I looked right into, like, all right, so is there any connection between the movie The Dark Knight Rising and Clockwork Orange? And right away it came up saying that was Nolan, what's his name? Something
Christopher Nolan, yeah.
Christopher Nolan,
Dude,
yeah.
did you say that in the chat? Because I feel like somebody did. Okay, man. Yeah. Dude, that blew me away.
He said that's a big inspiration for the trilogy. Wow. So that really hit me real, because it was not red, like they always say, like red, like, and they said that the Joker is inspired by that character. So the Joker is inspired by the Clockwork Orange guy.
Right.
And
wow, dude, that is honestly insane. I think that it's very important to understand that there was prior knowledge of kind of the film itself, but beforehand, as far as like it's very strange that they would even attempt to attach the Dark Knight to James Holmes, beyond the fact that he chose that cinema, obviously, which his claim was after the fact, at least the alleged claim. I don't believe that he was clearly under pharmaceutical influence to where he had no real he had no real free will when he was allegedly confessing to so much of this, and clearly the judge tried to administer a truth serum, which is insane and unprecedented as far as that's concerned. But yeah, the A Clockwork Orange connection that to Christopher Nolan doesn't surprise me at all, especially if you think of like Memento, right? Like you remember that film as well, where the guy, that's a Christopher Nolan film, yeah. So he seems to have a very keen interest in amnesia and these interesting sort of psychological afflictions, right? But it doesn't at all surprise me. But again, the orange hair of James Holmes, I mean, it was like the Joker's hair was green. I always thought it was hilarious that apparently James claimed that it was because he had a known acquaintance who had blue hair. He had dyed his hair blue, or I don't know if it was a guy or a girl. And basically that had inspired him to dye his hair orange.
Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But if you really are considering like how long the intelligence apparatus has been utilizing children in terms of human honeypot operations, right? Like I'm coming to find out that so much of this seems to directly just it was directly influenced from one Operation Paperclip, but you had Project Monarch sort of pitched to Alan Dulles and Sidney Gottlieb, but in this moment in time, which I didn't realize how much they were convinced that
there's a lot of occult belief in like the younger the child is, the more connected they are to their past life and more information they have to be able to draw from. And it's actually where there's like a series by Stephen King right now on Netflix. I haven't seen it, but I heard about it, where it's about these kids being abused to bring out their special abilities. Like they're showing some kind of telekinesis or telekinetic, some kind of powers. And then these people, I don't know who it is, but they're like abusing these kids to bring out these powers. And I was hearing this theory that Stephen King got that idea from Stanley Kubrick, because in Stanley Kubrick, they say that Stephen King picked up to that idea eventually, that Stanley Kubrick was pointing out that the little boy in Danny wasn't having these powers until he was abused by his father, and then these powers started coming out of him.
Man.
Which is like a weird thing, because obviously it's weird, but
absolutely.
But it seems like they're putting this like twist to it. It also kind of reminds me of X-Men too. It's like that's when like certain characters really like start to harness their powers.
Yeah, some sort of transformational event around puberty, usually brought on by stress or something like that. Yeah. So I guess you could fit that into a DID type perspective, yeah.
Danny's DID experience, and that's when he gets the shine. That's when he gets the tools necessary to have the psychological connection with the caretaker of the Overlook, right? Who the black guy who's up there at the time, and he's essentially communicating with him, right, through telekinesis, right? I mean, essentially, and telekinetic powers, right? And they're just having this ongoing conversation, but he was tapping into that ability from a major geographical distance after a certain time as well. But I did find it interesting that it was right after he had been abused by his father that he was sort of granted that ability. Right, that extraordinary capability.
It seems like there's this like, I don't know, but if it's going to start coming more into popular culture, that there's this idea that abused children have these special powers. Right. And you ever seen Dr. Sleep?
Yes, dude, it freaked me out so bad. And the spiral on the front of the thing, anyway, the like as far as the promotional artwork for it, dude, that was so. It made me so uncomfortable. They're harnessing the energy of these young people that they're essentially ritualistically murdering. I mean,
And Danny in that movie, as an adult, it starts right in the beginning where he like wakes up to like this chick that he had like a one night stand with, and he's about to steal her money and shit.
Yeah.
And then like he notices she's dead. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't even know how she died. He's just like noticing like that she's dead.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And like I think like the most, and then he hears a kid in the background. He just winds up not taking the money. Like that's the moral thing to do, is not take the money, but then just scurries off and leaves the kid. And like later on, he finds out the kid died because the child was just left alone with its dead mother. And you know, it's like some crazy shit. But it's pointing out that he wasn't moral at all. Like he had this power, but he wasn't a moral person. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like they're having this agenda pushing that these abused children have these special powers, but they're ignoring the fact, or they don't want to point to the fact that they may be having powers, but doesn't make them good.
Yeah, they're acquiring it through trauma, and they're under the bonds of trauma cycles. So,
yes, it's a way to justify their actions, I think, as well, right? Like, no, we're making them more special, right? Yeah, and in reality, it's just there.
A twist.
It feels that way. And it's how a sociopath would have to manage. I would have to think that you feel emotions of you know, to some extent, and to how you internalize those emotional states is the difference, right? I mean, isn't that allegedly the disruption there with the sociopathic
You
nature?
were talking about that Devil's Den shit. I was really getting mad. Like that shit was really pissing me off. I felt myself shaking. Like I couldn't really take much. It's like,
oh my God, did you see what JJ said? I remember hearing this now. I forgot about this. Yeah, there was a comic back in the 1980s, a Batman comic, where it was essentially there was an individual villain who assaulted a public theater, and had orange hair with like a legit kit. I remember this now. I forgot that came up whenever I actually covered the original story, but it was after the fact. That is a very strange connection, though. Like clearly, you would imagine if you were some sort of a psy-war, just psychological warfare planner, and you're a psychiatrist who's legitimately using neurolinguistic programming and various pharmaceutical agents to effectively fracture off the mind of an individual asset to then clearly provide the through hypnotism as well, provide the set of instructions necessary for the trigger mechanism to achieve the desired result. And then you will have James Holmes, which all you really needed is to essentially, and I think this is potentially how it played out, and also the major recesses in the back behind the screen itself in the actual theater that was chosen, with the door directly out to the outside that they could just prop open, which is what Corbin Dates claims, that victim or that witness, right, who was in the theater, who said, yeah, it was strategically achieved in that very moment too, like where there's a scene where there's live gunfire, and there's like essentially there's the explosive pyrotechnic devices being used in the film itself, and so it gave this sort of room, this of opportunity, this small window of time where not real genuine reaction would take place, because the people would be confused, thinking, is this the film itself, or is this? And even Corbin Dates said that he thought it was like because it was the night of the it was the first
midnight
night
premiere.
It was the first night it was premiering, exactly, and so one, of course, it was later on confirmed that was the reason. He knew that would be the filled theater, but in reality, it makes a little bit more sense as far as them, because again, you consider the idea that he gets a phone call. He stands up while he's in the middle of the movie theater 20 minutes in after he bought the ticket, and he's talking to somebody as he goes to the door, pops it open, and then it looks like he's motioning for someone to come over. right? And then yeah, he's kitted. He's fully kitted. He comes back after he leaves the ajar door, and he comes back fully kitted with a neck protector. You can't see anything but his eyes, right? And multiple people claim that there were up to 3 perpetrators, right? One guy even was described, if you listen to the tapes, as like having a like a white and blue flannel shirt. But either way, I thought it was interesting because in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you have your strategic Manchurian asset in place. Give him the ring, right? Which obviously trigger the action and the set of instructions in your Manchurian. And then he will proceed through his obviously his sort of in my mind, I think that he was programmed to patsy. Right. That's truly what it was. And effectively what he was doing is opening up the door to the operation and the true operatives on the ground to then effectively escalate. And they already had prior assets in place behind the screen itself in the recesses. And essentially that's how the really a lot of the tear gas was administered to begin with as well. And the final point being that why wouldn't he open up the door, essentially let in the real operatives, right, to perform the dude, that kid was traumatized for sure, but to perform the operation, and then yeah, just all he had to do was walk back out to his car and stand there and wait to get apprehended by the authorities, like he was in a hypnotic trance, as Grizzler or whatever his name was, the arresting officer claimed. But
can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Before I let
go ahead.
My bad, Ray Child. Before
No, you're good. No, you're good. I didn't know if y'all can hear me or not.
Go ahead, Shai. One last thing, and we gotta move on to Rage.
I just want to point at Shadow Point. You had mentioned how he just kept saying Shadow Point over and over.
Oh yeah, that was crazy.
And you also, I think, mentioned something about how he had involvement with video games.
Yeah.
So when I was looking, so like Shadow Point really just struck me, and I was really curious about that. So when I looked into that, one, it's a VR game. It's a virtual reality game called Shadow Point, which was interesting because of the game aspect. But also, like, Shadow Point is like this place where you confront like your dualities. Like, it's like the hidden point that slices. It's like a point where your two personalities like would come together and be like know each other out, which is interesting that he would be saying that over and over again, because maybe that's what he was trying to get to. He was trying to get to a point out of there. Or the other thing is, there is a Shadow Point, Colorado. It's like a place in a state park in Colorado.
Yeah. Yeah. It honestly, to me, it felt like it was just another sort of repetition in his programming that he couldn't quite pry himself. It's like you have these, I'm telling you, it seems as if you have these sort of fractured portions of your brain that are attempting to make sense of what happened while you were in your hypnotic trance and sort of fulfilling your set of instructions. And when you're in that sort of state of neurolinguistic programming that has achieved this interesting hypnotic state. But again, it's when you like legitimately read like what he was claiming as far as while he was in his dissociative state throughout the trial, and the judge was attempting to give him the truth serum. Like he legitimately said that he had to effectively go through with the event, or he would be suicided. That's what he claimed, right? With his mission is what he claimed, right? He said it was a mission. And I think the terminology and the language itself matters, right? But yeah, it's not at all surprising to me. But you know what? I'm gonna go on tinfoil hat on tomorrow, actually.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, to talk about this specifically. So
fuck yeah,
I'm
dude.
excited for sure, man.
All right, Shai, we're about to boot you. Rage Child, appreciate you joining us. Rage Child, what the fuck do you want? What's up,
I want
dude?
justice.
Hell yeah, brother.
So, buddy.
Y'all can hear me?
Hell yeah, dude.
Mhm.
What's up? What you got? You got anything for us, or you want us to just roll right into our next topic? What's
No,
up?
I just wanted to hang out here in a drunken stupor. No, I'm
Hell
just
yeah,
kidding.
let's do it.
I had kind of something about the Devil's Den, but I'll get back into that afterward. A different Devil's Den. But since we're on the topic of the Holmes shit and the shooting at the Aurora, when I was listening to it, which I listened to it like yesterday and today, because it was long, which was good. I like that one. Radix Vera mentioned something about how like putting the movie theater, or when they make movies, and how they would splice shit into it. Like it's just a bunch of images like simultaneously in sequence, and then you could put shit into it and no one would know.
Right.
It reminded me of on Fight Club when he's like, they're asking him what he does, and he's like, I'm a projectionist.
Yeah, he's splicing porn into these films that are like family films.
Yeah, exactly. He describes the process of splicing a single frame of pornography into family films to subliminally disturb the audience.
Did I just see? Yeah.
Well, you know, Rescuers. There's that one scene where it's literally a photograph of a naked
in a
woman.
window?
Yeah, it's like in a window as they're sliding down this like. Shoot them! It's a sewer or what? But the standard like cartoon shtick, and you like a freeze frame, you can see it. It's like literally like you said, it's like an overlaid frame of an actual photograph on an animated movie. It's The Rescuers. I think it's The Rescuers 2, or it might just be the first one. I forget, but it's The Rescuers. That's the one that I always thought that one's weird because it's bizarre. It's literally a photograph of like a naked woman. Which is what's so bizarre, because it's like you said, it's like kind of posted on there.
Yeah, they said that you could only see that one on Laserdisc because I guess on VHS, the frames are too different. So you could it's something crazy, but I don't have all that shit in my head right now. But he's Tyler Durden said, I just splice in a frame of pornography every once in a while. The customers don't know it, but they are disturbed. Yeah, and he said it's the moment when the audience feels something but doesn't know why, and that's like in the movie. I haven't read the book or anything, but that's like part of the movie. But that was my first thought when she mentioned that part of it, and it's like the same shit. Fight Club. He's like got the split fucking personalities, and so it was like fuck. This is like almost perfect for exactly what he's probably obviously probably going through, where he's thinking.
Oh, sure.
Fucking he's somebody else. And then the same when you were talking about Inherent Vice, where it's like fucking back and forth, where we're not sure who's the fuck who's who.
Right. It's amazing where honestly that was, and if you remember, I had mentioned Tamerlane in that context.
Where he doesn't know. He wakes up, he's like, he doesn't know where he's been.
Yeah, it's what it seems like, and imagine what that feels like with your mind fracturing into two, and you're attempting to make up for this loss in time. You don't understand how you woke up in this strange place, and you have some sort of ethical foundation. It's not like you're a complete sociopath, right? And that would be even more insane, to wake up and realize that you had done something right, and that is always
something
what
terrible.
My God, man,
that's like me when I was on Xanax, and I'd fucking wake up and like, man, what the fuck did I even do? I have like a bunch of shit I stole. I'm like, man, what the fuck?
Oh my God.
And then I'm trying to someone to be like, man, remember when you did this? It'll be like some crazy fucking shit, and I'm like, no, there's no way I did that. And like, yeah, it's like formula. 4 other people corroborating it. I'm like,
right,
fuck, I guess I did. And I'm trying to remember, like,
drink
and then I have like,
those, buddy.
Yeah, fucking, I have these like super vivid ass dreams that are like just pretty plain, like fucking normal. Sometimes they get like weird, but they're like, I'm just like at work, or I'm at school, or I'm just doing normal shit, like fucking the dishes, and then it feels so real. And then I wake up and I'm like, what the fuck is, or even in my dreams, I'm like, I wake up in my dream, like my alarm goes off and I wake up, get ready for work, and then I fucking really wake up and I'm fucking late, and I'm like, God damn it. And then I'm trying to remember, did this happen in a dream, or is this happen for real? And I honestly, like, it's probably for a good couple, maybe 10 years or so.
You ever do the one where you imagine, where you're dreaming that you're in the bathroom, like in the morning, like taking a leak, and then you wake up and you're like, fuck.
It's in yourself.
Yeah.
Last time I did that, I remember I had some family over and I had to sleep in my sister's bed because they were sleeping in mine. And I had that fucking dream and I was just like straight pissed. And I woke up and was like, fuck, dude, my sister's going to kill me. I just pissed all her fucking bed. I was probably like 8. But yeah, I remember one time my buddy was fucking wasted and he had the same thing and he's just pissing on the carpet on the dresser. We're all just laughing at him. But it wasn't my fucking house. So I didn't care. But yeah, so I mean that sucked. So I can imagine fucking killing people and then waking up like motherfucker.
Buddy, I'm just saying, like, once I realized, and especially I'd brought up the fact that so much of this sinister playbook of utilizing children, you know, for human honeypot operations and sexual blackmail. I mean, I think it obviously it predates the modern intelligence apparatus, but I think that the systematic enrichment, it sort of required that this power structure, you know, this clandestine international network to exist, where it wouldn't be so effective, right? As far as what they're honestly able to achieve in this moment, in this current environment, and their ability to exploit and leverage the blackmail to, you know, place and position assets. I think it's fundamentally led to this, as we said in the beginning, this sort of overall extraordinary environment of pedophocracy, right?
I hate how like embedded it is. Like it's so fucking, it's like the worst fucking thing, and it's at the fucking base of like every single thing.
Pedo panic, though, Rage. Pedo panic. We're all just panicking in moral hysteria because clearly we can't come to terms with the actual problems we face in modern society. But and we're falling victim to the conspiracy, the conspiratorial nature of the theoretical. Right. I think that disinformation that is oversaturating the current environment. I think it's just so laughable. You know,
it's like
right. People are trying to convince us that that's not the case. Are you kidding me? And
it's not like we're going like super deep into, you know, it's almost like surface level. It's pretty obvious, and then you go more, and it gets worse, obviously. But it's like it's really not that hard to fucking point out what's going on.
Oh no, dude! I had one. Oh shit!
There it is. Those are the tits.
There it is.
Yep, they're boobies. It's all it's censored here. You can't make them out.
Subliminal tits, dude.
Yeah,
that's when I got
boobies.
the secret channels.
Subliminal
fucking flipping
tits.
between the channels, and I got like fucking Cinemax on the secret channel on like channel 14. You gotta fucking hit it a little bit to maybe get the waves for the boobs just right.
Pausing it on the rescuers to bust a nut.
What the hell, dude?
Yeah, that's coming on rough times. All I got's this one rescuers VHS. We gotta make it work.
Yeah, you're the king of the cul-de-sac when you had that one.
Yeah, well, Rage Shot, I think we have one more caller, and we are getting near the end. And I think maybe we might try to. I know, Austin, I guess we could see what the caller has, or we can jump into our last story that we wanted to go into.
Yeah, I was going to tell you about the other Devil's Den, because here in San Antonio, there's a place called Devil's Den, but it's just like an abandoned area. But some kids got murdered there in 96, and they were like saying, the rumor was like it was a satanic ritual, but apparently he just got killed by his classmate. But it's a kind of a longer story, but it's just weird that there's another Devil's Den where people got murdered.
You should send me that.
That was
honestly,
in 96.
Because, it was in 96. You know which state it was in?
Yeah, it's in San Antonio, Texas.
San Antonio, okay.
Yeah.
Dude,
but that's all I was throwing in with, because when you said Devil's Den, I thought you were talking about this, and I was like, that's kind of old, but I didn't know there was another one.
Right, that's interesting.
But yeah, that's all I had. I'll be on another time.
Well, appreciate you, brother. We'll bring you on again soon. I guess let's bring on the last caller, see what he has for us. Maybe we can say the judge thing for another day, or maybe we'll squeeze it in with this last caller. So, what's up, Far Fig Shitter? What it do, bud?
Hello? You guys hear me?
Hello. How are you, bud? What's up?
Okay, sorry, I'm a little bit outside right now. Yeah, anyway, long time listener of your show. kind of ever since I heard this Tim Dillon episode about the Boston bombing, that the brother got put on a special administrative measures. That's how I found your show, Austin. And then through that, and then I found your OKC episode. Then I did a Spotify search, and I found Jose did a fucking dozen episodes about that shit.
There's more.
I'm not gonna lie. I was that. I don't think I can even memorize any of them at this point. There's been so many of them, and have have a beer or two once in a while. So it'd be like that. But just my question, because I remember you guys saying the farm earlier, and my question is, whenever the farm is mentioned, let's say in the Great White Shitty North, it's about Robert Pickton, a serial killer who killed about 50 women from Vancouver, and he had his pig farm, which was under the, I would say jurisdiction, but the RCMP, the Gendarmerie Royale du Canada, because Canada does have a gendarmerie, and they were watching them because the Hells Angels were literal neighbors and bodyguards working with the Pickton family.
Wow, providing security probably at a certain...
because when this guy was arrested, there's a lot of I can tag you on Twitter of all the documents that got literally destroyed by the RCMP because they were monitoring the neighboring farm that the Hells Angels were running.
Oh my god!
For methamphetamine and marijuana, because the Hells Angels actually is a big fucking thing up here. They run the Port of Montreal. To say the least. Well, I was saying because I don't know if you ever heard about this fella. He got murdered last year in prison. Some other inmate broke a broom handle and stabbed him in the face.
Damn.
So that bastard's gone. Thankfully.
Wait, is this the same is this the same farm guy that has a connection to Trudeau? Is that where this is going?
Yes.
Okay.
Because this was usually, I guess it had to be from the 70. I think it was 78. That's when that was Trudeau's seniors of last term as prime minister, and it went until I believe that he was arrested 2000 or so, something like that, 2003. He finally got sentenced in 07, but it went from, let's say, the late 70s until the early 2000s. So I just want to know if this ever kind of crossed your research, because it's like these topics like this and Peter Nygaard.
Right.
Like I said, they're not like totally just blacklisted by the media, but you'll just hear a 5-minute, not even 5 minutes, I would say 3-minute discussion on the 6 o'clock news. And then it's forever just, washed away. But just the farm in general, because, my parents, they heard about that and reading a little bit about that. There's no way that something like this he's only convicted for 6 of the 51 or 49 murders he confessed to.
What was his name? Tell me.
Robert Pickton. Robert, and then Pickton. He ran a little pig farm. And
oh my god! Look at this dude.
He was, and here's the Hells Angels were his literal neighbors, did security for him. The RCMP were allegedly investigating the Hells Angels for marijuana and meth distribution.
Oof.
And I guess manufacturing. And then they burned a bunch of their files after they arrested the fella who was the literal serial killer neighbor. So it's just a little strange. Just I don't know if this ever. It's just I don't know if this ever came across your notes or any similar buddy like that, because it's the farm. That's the connotation it means up here.
Yeah.
Because he was a little pig farmer.
And that reminds me of the Silence of the Lambs, where it's like they had the pigs, and so they had that one farm where it's like they disposed of bodies.
Oh, he probably fit that movie. Just I haven't seen the entirety of it, but if there ever was a character that could probably be like him,
yeah, exactly.
His whole life, it's him from early life until his fucking timely stabbed in the face with a broom handle.
Yeah, because I wouldn't be surprised if the role this guy played was like kind of just to get rid of shit. Like, pig farm. Hey, we need to get rid of body.
Got to get rid of bodies.
You could say because whoever they said the victims were these. I don't want to be mean, but undesirables of society. Their words, not my own, but like prostitutes, drug addicts, people who you think that hey, they go missing,
The
who's really
the
gotta
bread
check
and
up on them.
butter of these dark operations that work in the world. Yeah.
Yeah, a
You
little
see
bit proletarian.
This dude says that Pickton would frequent the processing plant, and he would essentially so often that they would stop checking the scraps that he brought in, and that he was basically slipping in human
Oh
meat.
yeah, because he inherited the farm from his parents, so it's kind of like, it must be
You
he's just,
didn't read that
genuine
last
pig.
line, Austin. You didn't read that last line.
I'm sorry,
so
did I
people were
interrupt that?
People were
eating.
eating people in candy and makeup.
Yes.
Yeah. I know, right?
Oh
This is
my God.
crazy.
Sorry.
It's one of those topics that just gets pushed under the rug so much up here. When the RCMP was literally monitoring the Hells Angels, who were his neighbors, and the Hells Angels are really involved deep up here.
Yeah, that's a fucking op, dude.
Exactly. Sounds like a straight up covert operation.
Which also they run the Hells Angels and also the mafia of the Cosa Nostra. They run the port of Montreal, which is Canada's biggest port.
Mm-hmm.
Everything that goes into Toronto comes through the port of Montreal, and these are the two biggest cities. Vancouver has their own port, so they don't really need to go that far. But if you ever want to do a little investigation at the port of Montreal, it's pretty fucked. It's the human trafficking capital of Canada.
And what was the Trudeau connection here? What was it like? He lived down the road from it or
No,
something weird like that?
he was prime minister at that time, and essentially the commissioner of the RCMP, which is, if you want to get into Le Français, Gendarmerie Royale du Canada, is the Gendarmerie of Canada, and they report directly to him. So if anything that has been going on with the RCMP, because it's it's an area that the RCMP has jurisdiction over.
Yeah, I swear there was something to living nearby. Raid Child is agreeing too. I swear it was like he also lived in a oddly.
No, it was. If you see that area is the Trudeau family. They did have skiing resorts, and the eldest Trudeau brother died in an avalanche in British Columbia around that area, I believe.
Okay. All right. So it's kind of a family stomping ground / they owned a lot of land and property in that area. Okay.
Oh yeah, and there's no way that the RCMP and the government itself did not know what was going on.
This guy was hosting parties at an ad hoc nightclub called Piggy's Palace, which attracted the political and economic elites of the Lower Mainland, along with the Hells Angels.
God.
Dog, this is a fucking huge story.
Dude,
I don't know if you guys have heard about this, because really it's you even up here you don't get many details about that. It just comes in the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news, and you have a 2-minute segment, and it's back to the fucking weather or the the Blue Jays scores or some shit like that.
Right.
Dude,
this
but
is nuts. All of these missing women, indigenous women,
the lowest people of society.
It sounds like they were doing sex parties and they were probably doing like literally borderline type stuff and then disposing of the bodies.
He gets charged with an attempted murder of a sex worker at one point. Apparently, he had stabbed her 4 times at the farm during some sort of dispute.
At least it wasn't a
we
person.
got away with this shit.
That was a joke, guys.
Crazy, dude.
You can't kill prostitutes just because they're not people doesn't mean you can kill them.
Oh my god, that's terrible.
But I will also say his time of his death was rather mysterious, because up here there's no like technical life sentences. It's you get 20. It is a life sentence, but you're allowed to get a parole opportunity after 25 years. Mm-hmm. So, but usually with people like this, they get a designation called a dangerous offender designation, which happened to the Scarborough rapist. But anyway, these people, they're not supposed to get paroled basically ever. They get all these tags on them saying like you're a repeat offender, dangerous offender. But right after his first parole, when he was first available to become paroled, he was murdered in prison. After spending 25 years of the first chance he had to be paroled, a couple months later, he just got murdered before I believe his first hearing.
Did he have a brother? Because they talk about the Pickton brothers being involved with some of these.
I believe he does have a brother, because it was a family of, let's say, the 1960s. I don't think they would have just one child.
Right.
That's just me going off just basic memory. But probably he did have a brother or so.
Yeah, this is all very
Yeah.
strange, my friend. I know. What is he's got a? Oh my god, dude!
He got
guy is
stabbed in
a
the face with a
psycho,
fucking broom
bro.
handle. He deserved it.
Dude, it turns out, holy shit, dude. So this guy had a loaded 22 revolver with a dildo over the barrel, and one round, this guy was out of his mind.
I think that's probably how he was killing the hookers. Honestly,
This is crazy, man.
with his dildo gun.
He had a syringe with three. So apparently, there was blue liquid inside, and Spanish fly aphrodisiac were found inside Pickton's trailer as well. But he had this strange liquid that he used in syringes that he would administer to individuals and then handcuff them. And then he had night vision goggles and a dude. Oh my god, this is a very interesting story.
Remember what we talked about, Austin? Weren't we talking about on our paywall show, the Dutro one, about the idea of how they would just kill people with cars? I mean, obviously, whatever, that doesn't necessarily... But anyways, Fire Pixie's saying here, this guy had a brother who actually hit a kid on the road, and something about the mom going back and rolling the kid into the ditch. But just the idea, I thought that was interesting, that like he's known for killing a kid, I guess, with a car.
Yeah, another Patsy, huh?
Yeah, so, yeah.
He's, I was like, this guy is totally a bad dude, deserved exactly what happened to him, but there's way more that lies,
yeah, there's a
I
lot
would say,
going on
beneath.
here, clearly.
If I can find the exact, the thing that, and there's a CBC news article, a global news article, the RCMP just lost, aka destroyed a lot of their documents relating to the Hells Angels investigation next to Pickton's farm, because the Hells Angels compound was literally boarding Pickton's farmyard.
It's just like the way the Hells Angels were used in covert operations domestically in the U.S. It's the same thing that was popping up all around the Altamont Festival. Hells Angels running security for the event, but then you have the Brotherhood of Eternal Love who comes in with the orange sunshine acid from Ronald Stark, I think was his name, the CIA operative that was just like, yeah, here are my pay stubs from Langley. When he gets caught, like, dude, I've been trafficking all of these drugs for, internationally for decades on behalf of the CIA. Like, I don't know what you're upset about.
Mhm.
I thought it was hilarious, but
I think we should finish off on the story. I said maybe we should save for next week, but the Kentucky judge story, because it is just kind of ties in perfectly, I think, even to this Trudeau buddy story. I know if almost
that guy who got blasted in his office.
Yeah, that ties like perfectly into it. If you want to bring that up, I mean, I'll go ahead and just it's a fairly short article. Actually, I'll just read a portion of it real quick. It's from the New York Times. It says a rural Kentucky judge gunned down his own chambers last year, ran a twisted sex ring in which young women were coaxed into performing sexual favors just to get out of trouble, one of the alleged victim's claims. Taya Adams alleges she was among those caught up in Judge Kevin Mullen's apparent sex for favor scheme that saw him and others in the tiny town of Whitesburg demand sex in exchange for cash or to get offenders off the hook. Adam told News Nation's Banfield that Mullins, who was shot execution style in his Letcher County chambers, allegedly by his longtime sheriff pal, Sean Steins, last September, had warned her to keep quiet with the so-called depraved ring. Said, we would do sex parties and perform shows and have sex with them for money. Things like that, Adams alleged. It was consensual, but it was the thing that we were so young, and then they use it against us and destroy our lives later. I would be curious, how young are we talking? Adams said she felt forced to go along with the judge's scheme because she feared Child Protective Services would somehow get involved and upend her life. They would make sure to make you feel as small and degraded and belittled as possible to take your power away. It wasn't immediately clear if the woman had any prior runs of the law or if she was on CPS's radar at the time. But yeah, no. So these are these broads, which I mean, granted she's a little busted, but hey, doesn't mean it's okay to rape her. Although it's not rape. I mean, I guess it's all consensual. But let's be real, it's not really when you are kind of being lorded over legal troubles. So it's kind of like this is kind of fucked up. And then also kind of ties into how there's possibly, I think there's probably a lot more going on. I mean, obviously this guy got domed by the sheriff and we still don't know entirely why. So, and I think there'll probably be more that comes out, and I think probably be a whole lot more of this than we even think. So I don't know. I just feel like this kind of perfectly ties into everything we've been talking about this episode. Yeah.
There was what I read in some article about how the whole like little small town, there was a bunch of swingers around there, and apparently, I guess this sheriff took exception to this one moment because there's no way if all this was going on that he would have been completely oblivious and ignorant to the fact that was going on. But I feel like this was a step beyond what he was acceptable with, and he just kind of it is rather odd saying my child and wife are about to be kidnapped. I don't know what to say to that, but I feel like he had to have at least known something beforehand.
Oh yeah, man! Does it not instantly remind you of the Israeli cybersecurity pedophile that was whisked away back to Israel? And,
which one?
Yeah, exactly. Alexandrovich, isn't that his name? Yeah, and
the new guy.
It reminded me though instantly of the judge, right? The former judge in Vegas who came out and allegedly killed herself after she was forced to resign, right?
Ooh.
And she that was a crazy story because it came out just as this Tom Alexandrovich story broke, and basically she was forced to resign for apparently attempting to expose a local company she claimed was a sex trafficking front that prioritized targeting the children of Las Vegas government officials. And to me, that just officially, I just think of the sort of pedophile protection that we're witnessing right now. And it's clearly, I think, just where there are too many examples that we can point to in this moment for any of us to be comfortable, right? Like with the individuals of prominence and power and what seems to be the highest top currency in DC, which is human compromise, sexual blackmail, obviously, but with Michael Tracy's of the world at this moment, right? Who are just running diversion tactics that are obviously like in every way trying to convince us they're pedophiles, right? Because that's clearly what you're doing. I mean, I don't know how else to interpret your method here, right? Because if you're attempting to undermine Nick Bryant's credibility and things of that nature, and you're attempting to have the general public embrace this misconception that we're all in the midst of this outrageous moral hysteria surrounding pedophiles. I mean, we're witnessing one of the most major prominent cover-ups, in real time. I mean, what is really Epstein compared to, honestly? Like, if you think about it, like as far as the most notorious pedophile network maybe that ever existed, I mean, that really does seem to be the case. And at this point, it's like I look at Watergate as a sexual blackmail, as well as a pedophile list being provided as well that they were attempting to acquire when they broke in the second time. But still, it reminds me of what I wanted to just the last thing that I really wanted to touch on, because I had mentioned it privately to you, Jose, which was just the fact of the matter of this strange dilemma of the intelligence community in the mid-50s when they were trying to decide in what way were they willing to exploit children for sexual purposes by running them in human honey trap operations. And this was effectively becoming a strategic operational, just not only a tactic, but they were forming the playbook that I think that it has been consistently utilized and referenced and continues to resurface over and over throughout ever since, right? And I think that this was all happening in a period of time where you had Sidney Gottlieb and these various usual suspects, including Richard Helms, involved, where they created another sub-project in the context of MK Ultra and Monarch Mind Control, and this sub-project had to do with exploiting child prostitutes specifically, And I think that it's important to know that it goes as, at the very least, this systematic entrenchment of the intelligence community utilizing this as a method of compromise. That it has gone at the very least back to this sort of moment in time where it was sort of I think being laid. It's an instrumental moment as far as the network itself and how it's facilitated functions and then is covered up also in the grand scheme of things. And basically the example that I wanted to use was the form of Claudia Mullen, right? Who she basically testified in 1957 to 58. And she says that as a victim of sexual abuse, she was brought to Sidney Gottlieb's CIA network, right? And that it was all in the context of her abuse happening under the umbrella of the Tulane University experiments in New Orleans. And that brings in, obviously, David Ferry and the Louisiana Cap, and how they were also offering up experimental subjects to scientists who were on the take and corrupt and a part of this clandestine operation. They would sort of provide them with experimental test subjects. And so she claims that a number of doctors tested her intelligence, the way she responded sexually, how obedient she was, how much pain she could endure, and a number of apparently other torturous techniques that they would apply to her. But then apparently this same group, Sidney Gottlieb's CIA network in 59, brought her to the Deep Creek Cabins in Maryland. It's a remote cabin complex that they have in Maryland where she claims her training as a child prostitute began. And she says that each time that she had gone there, she was with a group of at least 75 other children. And I just think that's also very interesting if you're considering these sort of pedophile farms, like we had mentioned before, Farmer L, Tamara Luzzatto, and Pizzagate. CIA Black Site, absolutely. I think of Hand of Death Cult every time. I think of Henry Lee Lucas, who says he and Otis Toole were trained in the art of abduction and kidnappings, but also targeted assassinations and how to commit public executions, right? And essentially also how to become very advanced in the art form of wielding a knife, right? And effectively as well. But beyond that, final point is that during the 60s and extended into the 70s as well, she was used to entrap important political officials or just important officials in business as well. And she mentions two of them being Senator Frank Church, right? Who they claim that obviously the Church Committee hearings, right? In 75, he's the chairman, and this is investigating the CIA's wrongdoing, and that she claims that she was legitimately, obviously, sent to entrap Frank Church, and so that alone should give you pause, right? Because essentially. If you're under the impression that Richard Helms, which that is the implication here, when he destroyed those thousands and thousands of clandestine covert documents, as far as like the top secret documents of these clandestine operations, when he destroyed those, it seems as if the priority files that he was choosing to destroy first would have involved the clandestine use of child prostitutes. Absolutely. Are you kidding me? Like, how would that not be at the top of the list as far as what you would hope to, cover up and make sure it never saw the light of day in terms of being publicly exposed in this transparent way? And so then beyond that, oh shit, Biblical Hitman's in the chat. What's up, my friend? Good people. And so basically,
all right, brother, it's getting really ugly.
I got a couple things to add after Austin's.
You're screaming at us.
I'm sorry. My mic's still too close to my face. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Jesus. All right.
I apologize greatly.
It's not you. I feel assaulted, but it's not just you, Jose.
I just want to wait till Austin was done. I'm sorry to blow up your eardrums. I just want to wait till Austin's monologue was done.
I'm done, and I'm not trying to do a monologue. I legitimately just thought it was a point worthwhile, but
no,
I think that the only final point I wanted to make, and then I'll stop talking about this, is basically, I think it's really important to obviously keep in mind, this is Frank Church and Richard Helms, and they're directly implicated in using child prostitutes in covert operations with Sidney Gottlieb. I think that's very important to point out. All right, and take seriously. And anyway, I'm not trying to linger on this for no reason and dwell, but I think the only point I wanted to make is that beyond Frank Church, that she was sent to entrap, she also was sent to entrap Senator Russell Long of Louisiana, who also, guess what, in '67, he was involved with Jim Garrison for the investigation of the real assassinations of assassins of John F. Kennedy. So I just thought, again, it's if you're thinking that because Frank Church allegedly was filmed doing something incriminating, and apparently he needed to keep the funding, and so he was willing to do whatever it took to protect illegal CIA operations and projects, right, when the investigation was being conducted in '75. So that's the only point I wanted to make. I thought it was really important because it connected to the JFK assassination as well.
Just as long as Farfig don't yell at me. That's all. That was a stressful moment. I
love you, Jose. I apologize.
Bewildered. No, you're good. Jesus Christ, the game. That very moment.
I forgot how close my earbud was to my mouth.
You're good. Scared the shit out of me. All right. Well, appreciate you joining us, Farfig. Awesome.
Wait, can I just say one last 30-second thing?
Yeah. Go
before Justin Trudeau, he was working at Trudeau Jr. was working at Grey Point Academy, which is one of the most private high schools that you can get in British Columbia, one of the most expensive in Vancouver. And if you look on that school's record, he is not an alumni or an alumni teacher because he had to sign No, he was working full time in the drama department, and the rumors are he had to sign a non-disclosure agreement with some of his students. And if you look at some of the yearbook photos, if I had children, I would not want him hugging my children in that type of way. Right. Especially, and then if that school if it's a private school, right, you want to publicize the people who teach there. And if you just kind of have this prime minister or former prime minister, why aren't you publicizing any of the things that went on there? There's a non-disclosure agreement, but everyone denies that it happens, obviously, because you don't want to admit there's a non-disclosure agreement. Right. His father himself, Pierre Trudeau Sr., and his wife had a lot of marital problems, and they were swinging, they were cheating. That's why, Trudeau Jr. is Castro's son.
Yeah, exactly.
If you see from all the photos of Margaret Trudeau hugging up Castro and having all that fun. And also that even their family themselves, the grandfather Trudeau, he owned half of the gas stations in Quebec at the time of the 1930s, 1920s when cars were starting to take off. So this family is basically like an oligarchy on steroids that just has enormous political power, especially in Montreal, aka where the senior Trudeau, after he basically he didn't have to go to the war because the war ended in World War II, so he became a lawyer. I don't know how that ties into Montreal experiments, but same city, pretty small at the time. And last question is, Austin, when's your last solo shit gonna happen? Been waiting on that.
I know, brother. I'm telling you, so I had like 10 interviews in the span of 7 days. So like I finally, after this week, I'm back to a manageable schedule, and I've been trying to get on the other side of it for quite some time. So honestly, it's on me and trying to strike a balance, but I will finally be able to prioritize and focus getting out a new solo episode. And I have like 3 working ideas that I'm losing my mind, but I have to finally make a decision, honestly. And yeah, it's definitely due time. I'm excited though.
I just think that BX episode, I watched about half an hour of that. Can't wait to get the rest of it. And Jose, I seen you did part 4 of the Dutroux thing
Hell yeah, dude.
with Austin, so I'm gonna get that when I'm back home. Awesome. Otherwise, yeah, maybe if I can find the thing about the senior Trudeau bearing up the Pickton murders on Twitter, I can tag you all in that. But otherwise, I apologize and deeply sorry for blowing out your eardrums.
You're
good, dude. Well, I appreciate you joining us.
Go Jays.
Hell yeah,
see ya, bro. See ya.
All right, see you, man. Austin, where can people find you at?
Yeah, man, you guys already know. Nothing but love for you. The best place to support me is patreon.com/theunderclasspodcast. And Yeah. Obviously, anything I've ever done resonates with you. Definitely. I appreciate you more than you know. So nothing but love, everybody.
Appreciate you, brother. For those who want to support what I'm doing over here, leave a like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can also follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. For those who want to support with money what I'm doing, the best way you really can, go over to patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That's where you get access to those early episodes, just like that part 4 of the Jutro series. I've got a bunch of other stuff in there too. I usually do about 1 to 2 episodes a week of the paywall content, and I keep about 4 or so of those behind the paywall at any given time. At the highest level are my sponsors, and I give them a big shout out every episode. I have my co-host on, or used to be my co-host on Tower Gang at Learn to Toad, also at AbricatD's, at ZOVRCK, at _Invizil, Tim Tuttle, at John Klebold, Will Bell, his delicious blueberry rabbit eye wine, big fan of the show, Torme, at Wayne Taculus, and not Masad. With that, guys, we're out of here. Love you all. Make sure to show up next week at Tuesday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern. Hang out with us. Say your highs. Ask us our questions. And, with that, see y'all next week. Love y'all. Bye-bye.